So the key to getting through a relapse is to have a really self-disciplined day after. And that's what I'm going to be sharing with you in this video. I just had a relapse from one of the addictions I'm working on. It is to streaming. So streaming Disney Plus, Amazon Prime, YouTube videos, ironically. So when I watch YouTube videos, I have it playing in the background. I don't actually watch the screen, except for those last couple of days when I relapsed. So this is an addiction for me that I've been working on for a couple of years, and these tips can be applied to any addiction, whether it be drugs, alcohol, etc. And like I said at the beginning, the really important thing is to have a really self-disciplined day. So that's what I focus on after I relapse or have a slip, is how can I get back into kind of the state I want to be. Of course, it's not going to be like pretty or perfect, as I there's no such thing as perfection, but the day is going to be a little rough, and probably the next couple of days might be a little rough too. And that's what one of the consequences of addiction is, that there's a withdrawal process. And so each time I've gone through this process, it's made me want to use less and less, mostly because I don't want to have to go through this process again. So a little background on this addiction I'm talking about. Ever since I was a little kid, I was plopped down in front of a TV. I didn't really, because of it, I didn't really develop many good social skills. So I'm still working on that today. And it's an addiction that I've been technically have had since I was like, what, 2, 3 years old. And I think that's why I was able to quit drugs and alcohol as quickly as I did, because I hadn't been using it for that amount of time. I quit when I was 22, and I started using marijuana in particular at 18, and I started using like, I don't know, like more harder drugs at like 18 and a half, 19. And I started drinking like occasionally at like 14. So I had less experience with those. And so I didn't have as much issues to work with. With internet though, and with technology, and I mean real empathy for those, for the Gen Z, I mean for anybody now that's like being born. I mean, this is going to be a real addiction in the future, I believe. And we can already see it playing out today with social media, Instagram, etc. And so I have a real association with it, and it's almost like it's a part of me. It's like it was my safety. It was my friend growing up, watching all these different shows. And a lot of the sometimes when I talk to people, it almost feels like I'm rehearsing lines, because I just grew up listening to people talk and recite lines on a television screen. And so part of my work is really working on to have authentic relationships where I'm not, where I'm present, where I'm sober. So this is something that when I do relapse on this, that I am affected by it for a couple of days. I struggle with relationships. I struggle talking to people, and I have more anxiety and stuff. So today is an example where I decided to, so I had a couple of days of using, and I'm like, all right, time to get back on the wagon, Joel. Time to recommit, to refocus. And I had a plan when I woke up. I have a plan every time I relapse on how I'm going to go through the day. And so I'm going to share what I did today and kind of some of the steps I took to get to where I am now. It's about 10 o'clock p.m. And I made it through the day. I made it through day one. So that's a huge win. And ultimately, it's just getting through one day at a time, so you can reach that point where at the end of the day where you're like, I made it, huge, and go on to the next day. So I woke up, and first thing I did was not a good thing, but I checked my phone because I woke up late because I was watching movies last night. And so ideally, I would not check my phone right away. That would be in a perfect scenario. In this case, I did though. So I continued on. I meditated. First thing I did, well, second thing I did. Third thing I did, I took a piss and I went and meditated. And I meditated for about 10 minutes. And that really helped me kind of set the intentions for the day. Like, hey, I'm committing to not watching movies or TV. Boom. That was very helpful. And so I finished that, and I went to work, and I stayed off listening to any sort of content, because what I like to do at work oftentimes, is to listen to content. I can listen to podcasts, I can listen to an Audible, you name it. And it's really helped with my growth. And I don't think I'd be sober today if I didn't have all these teachers and people over the internet that I've been able to learn from. However, in this case, though, I'm learning that can kind of be an addiction too, and I really want to be able to live as much as I can without internet or tech. So I didn't listen to any, streaming, any kind of podcast or anything for the first half of the day until the afternoon. I did my thing. I got the oil changed, fun stuff, right? Just kind of normal basic stuff. What I did about midday then is that I came home and I had a really good meal. So that's the second tip here, is to just eat really healthy. And so I had some grass fed beef, some lean turkey, some kale, and destroyed that because it was freaking delicious. And I felt good. I felt like wholesome, and that was a great. That was like stepping up a level too. So getting out of that rut of the relapse, because ultimately we don't want to be in that state where we just dwell in it, and and then the self pity comes. And it's like, oh my god, I failed. My life is over. Oh my god, like as soon as we can accept. I guess I should speak for myself. As soon as I accept, hey, I've made this mistake, I relapse. Maybe it's not even a mistake, but I made this choice, and now here are the consequences. I'm going to face them, and I'm going to get through it. Boom. It's really going to help. Another thing I sometimes do when I relapse, depending on if I need a shower that day, is I'll take a cold shower. And cold showers really help. It helps with testosterone, except production, especially when I go from hot to cold. There's a lot of studies on a lot of guys that talk about like doing the cold plunges and stuff. And like Joe Rogan has like some podcasts on it. So I do a mini version in in the shower here of a cold plunge, where I'll it'll be hot for a while, and then I'll turn it to freezing cold, stand in that for a while, and go back and forth. And it helps blood flow circulation, helps with skin, and it also helps with testosterone production. So that's something I like to do, even when I'm not on a relapse. I just kind of do that in general. However, if on some days when I do relapse, it's definitely something I aim to do. So after I ate lunch, I took my supplements. Yep, right there. Yep. So as you can see, there's a bunch of supplements up there, and I'll explain a few of them. I'm definitely going to make a video in the future about supplements I take and stuff. So stay tuned for that. I do a cod liver oil, so it's a stronger form of fish oil. Classic vitamin C, vitamin E, K, and vitamin D, which is, you can see that one. That one's like front and center there. Vitamin D is huge. I live in Wisconsin, so it's wintertime, which means there's not a lot of sun. And I know that if I weren't taking that, my mood would be way worse than it sometimes can be. So this really helps with that. I take 15,000 IUs a day, which is international units. And during the summer, I take a little less, like 5,000, 10,000, maybe if I need it. And in the winter, I stick to 15. I also take a vitamin K, which I talked about, which is actually, it helps with calcium, with preventing calcium buildup from vitamin D. So it actually goes really good with vitamin D. So I take those two together. I take DIM and boron, which are both for testosterone production and estrogen reduction, which is something that happens with men. So what DIM does is it reduces the amount of estrogen that my body takes up. Huge good, right? And then the boron counteract with that. It increases the amount of testosterone that my body can take up, because on average, like only about 10% of the testosterone in our bodies can be actually like utilized. So it adds like a couple percent to that when I take it consistently. So that one's huge. I also take like, classic vitamin C. What else? Like a zinc, which also helps with testosterone. One that I'm going to show you guys here in the I took today. It's called. There's a bunch of different like supplements within it. It's by this brand, Organic India, and you might have seen their tea at like Whole Foods or like any really grocery store, and it has ashwagandha and holy basil in it, and those are really good for anxiety. How they work exactly, I'm not sure. I would just Google it; it'll pop up right away. But I started taking this a couple years ago, and it's really helped. And I notice when I don't take it, I'm just a little more like just kind of jumpy. And when I take this, I feel like just a lot more calm. So these ones in specific, I got a Whole Foods on like a sale, so they're like a buck each for a pack, which is freaking sick because I mean, ashwagandha and holy basil by itself are kind of expensive. So I got lucky here. If you can find these little guys, go for it. Otherwise, I would recommend taking up like buying the actual supplement itself, ashwagandha, holy basil. Been a huge benefit to my life. So I took those. I went back out to work. Really kind of on days that I relapse, the day after I relapse, I kind of want to, in a sense, distract myself from maybe some of the pain I'm feeling. Um, because oftentimes that day can be a bit painful. Today wasn't actually that bad for me because I think I had prepared this video. I was kind of excited to make it, so I had that to look forward to. But a lot of days when I don't have any, like when I do relapse and I was on a streak, for example, I feel I feel some shame, I feel some guilt, and it's the day's kind of unpleasant. So the day after, if I can kind of just distract myself and get through the day as productively as possible, and then get to the end of the day and then restart the cycle, then it's a day, a successful day in my book. So went to work, kind of, made some money, which was helpful for some of my financial goals. And then I responded to some emails, again, distracting myself from maybe some of the pain I was feeling, and just kind of being productive, being disciplined, taking the actionable steps, even though I wasn't in the best state. You got to take action no matter what. And speed wins in business and speed wins in life. So continuing on, so did that. Um, then I went to call a friend. So this was something that shout out to Nick if you're watching this. You guys might have seen him on the channel. We've done a couple interviews with him. He's talked about porn, he's talked about heroin, and he's been a great support in my life. And we got to chat today, and we had a great chat. We talk about once a week, and he's been mentoring me in some things, some personal things that I'm super grateful for. And so having someone to reach out to on days like this is really key. And I've talked about this before, the importance of having like a coach, someone to sponsor or mentor you, however you want to put it. Just somebody that is further along in the journey than you are and that has wisdom. Uh, could be older, could be younger. It depends. I'll be honest. For me, I seek people that are usually a bit older, like in their 40s, 50s, just because maybe even 60s, because I know they have that life experience. So yeah, it's like for those that are listening to me, like I really appreciate it. I also recommend though getting out and meeting some older, wiser folks because they're gonna have a lot more wisdom, a lot more experience than I do. Even though 6 years is a lot, clean from drugs, alcohol, etc. Um, it's there are people out there with like tens, like dozens of years, and they're going to be able to really just I mean they've lived it so long that it's just like talking about their day. So again, I really recommend reaching out to some folks that you can maybe find through support groups, through maybe different forums. I don't know if like Reddit's a thing. I don't use Reddit, but I'm sure there's like recovery Reddit stuff out there. And just really, so anyway, we had a conversation and it was really nice. It was really nice to kind of forget about the fact that I'd slip back. Some days I will like call like another guy that is helping me out right now. He's like, call him my sponsor technically, so he's specifically for recovery. And some days when I'm going through some shit, I'll call him. And there have been days where I've relapsed on this tech, and I've talked to him about it, and it's really helped just kind of put it into perspective. Um, to remember, like, okay, I'm not like I haven't lost my soul. I'm not, I'm not going to hell. This isn't like I'm not going to be smited by the heavens here. I know it's like, okay, this guy, like people still love you. You can still love yourself. It's okay. It's a learning experience, and having someone to talk to can really help put that in perspective. So after that, I was at the gym. So I called him on my way to the gym, and I was starting my warm up as we were talking. And so next point is that I got some exercise, and that's going to be really important as well to kind of get that discipline back, because nothing is more discipline building than going to the gym consistently, I found in my experience. And so I lifted, I did chest, I did some back, and I did some biceps. And it's if you're a gym bro out there, you know how good that feels to finish a workout. No PRs today, but hey, we're in there. We're getting the reps in, and that's what matters. So had a great lift. Feel good about myself that I did that I pushed myself. I could have just gone home and just kind of chilled out. Maybe listen to some more podcasts or something. I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna go get a workout and really kind of embody this self-discipline day and this post relapse day. So after that, came home, just had a cod dinner. So I made another healthy meal. I had some wild caught cod, which again, omega 3s. I had some cod oil today, so I'm like super jacked up on omega 3s, which helps with like muscle recovery and stuff, and thinking. So I feel really sharp after that. and now it is about like 10:10, 10:12, and I'm doing this video, which is another self-discipline day. I could have said, no, I'm gonna wait a couple days to do a YouTube video again because I want to be really focused and back in my element. But I'm like, no, screw it, we're gonna do it today. We're gonna it's gonna be what it's gonna be. So yeah, after that, what I'm gonna do tonight is I'm gonna journal before I go to bed, before I fall asleep. I'm gonna try to meditate. No, I'm not gonna try. There's no try, right? As the great Yoda said, do or do not. There is no try. So I'm gonna meditate. I'm committing myself to you guys right now. I'm gonna meditate before I go to bed tonight, 5 to 10 minutes, and probably 10, 5 to 10 minutes, and then I'm going to do some journaling. I'm going to write some gratitude. So this is also a great practice to really get committed back into recovery, because recovery is a big part of recovery is learning how to feel gratitude for what is, and not what is lacking. So gonna get back into that. And the last thing I'm going to talk about today is some stuff I was thinking about, kind of, and maybe this could help some of you that are going through it, because I think it's really important to analyze, not overanalyze, but analyze to a degree. Why did I relapse? Like, what led me back to to using again? And today, what I discovered was that I was feeling a bit impatient. I was feeling like I wanted things to be moving a little quicker, and because of that, I felt this like restlessness, and I'm like, okay, I need to quell this, and I chose to quell it with TV. And so that's what led to me. So that's what led me to relapse. So going forward, I'm going to be like, okay, what I've learned through this experience is that, okay, impatience is something that is a trigger for me. And I'm going to have to learn how to better live with patience and be able to process it a little in maybe healthier ways. Because otherwise, as you guys know, it's a cycle. And then next thing you know, I'm going to be continuing the cycle over and over again. And that's not really what we want. So, learning from the mistakes of this relapse, I think, can be very helpful, because although it might be painful if you're going through it right now, like, fuck, I just relapsed. I was on a streak. And although you might also be beating yourself up a bit because, hey, it's part of the process, add some self-care into there. Add some, I'm going to learn from this and be a little better next time, because at the end of the day, like, that's the best we can do, especially on a slip. Like, it's like, you can't redo it. Can't you can't undo the choice to use. So it's like, okay, might as well just embody it, learn from it, embrace it, and go from there. And then fingers crossed that next time I'm going to have the awareness, the self-awareness, that when that same trigger comes up, I can be like, okay, I remember what happened last time. I did this because I felt this, and it led to having to start all over. So this time maybe I won't do it, and I'll try something else. And hey, you might slip back, and that's the process of getting sober, I think, is just trying, failing. Let's not even use those words. Doing it, slipping back, doing it again, slipping back, and before you know it, it's just like any muscle. It's like riding a bike, right? It gets easier and easier, and then one day you're just like, fuck it, I don't even want to use it anymore. Like, it's not even worth it. So, guys, comment down below what you do on a day when after you relapse, or any tips you have for the audience here. I think it's going to be really important for other people to know that, hey, we all go through this. Everybody who's gotten sober has gone through this, and if they tell you otherwise, they're they're probably lying, because it's not an easy thing. And one, if you are watching this and you're feeling like you're craving a relapse, try to stick it out for one more day. Try to implement some self-discipline and see what happens. And if you do slip, hey, it's part of the process, like I just said, and the universe will support you in getting back on your mission. So I also want to mention that if you guys are looking to get some extra help this year in getting sober, I do have a free How to Get Sober in 2023 guide, PDF guide, that you can download for free in the description below. All you got to do is put in your email, and you'll get sent the link to download the file. And it's got 7 tips that are going to kind of talk into detail about things you can do, actionable steps, because getting sober is a plan of action to get sober this year. And if you gain value from it, feel free to reach out or share with any of your people. Like, don't even have to credit me or whatever. Just send it out, just pass it along to folks. Also, if you are interested in some more personal help, feel free to reach out to me personally for one-on-one sobriety coaching. There will be a link in that as well. You can fill out the application. It's just got a few questions like kind of what are you going through? Like, do you actually feel committed to doing the work to get sober? And if you are, we can set up a call and see if we'd be a good fit together and see if I can benefit you in any way. So, guys, appreciate your time. Have a great night and talk to you soon. Peace.